Alright, we are live on the podcast for C3 Comic Show. We are down a guy this week again, but I am back, and I didn't have to sell a love sack today, so this is Josh.
He gave a love sack today.
Give a love sack every day.
So yeah, we got Josh, Kyle, and Ternes. How active Ternes will be, no one knows, as he is almost falling asleep on the couch.
I'm pretty much dead, you guys. Like, I'll probably stay awake, but I'm basically dead right now.
So this podcast will be pretty awesome. It's basically going to be Josh tells the story, Ternes reacts to it, Kyle tells the actual version of the events that happened. But to paint a scene, me and Kyle went to Fargo Con, which is a comic convention not hosted by Wizard World, in the largest town in North Dakota, Fargo. So I think you can piece together where they got the name from. In any case, being as we're a comic show, we're like, we have to be there. Nay, we were told we had to be there. So, yes, we were there.
Who told you had to be there?
The people. They demanded it.
Okay. The same people who told Rikishi he needed to run over the Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So,
good God.
We did it for the people.
So here's how the day started. It was pretty awesome. Me and Kyle agreed to leave at 9:30. I get a text at 9:14 that Kyle said he's out of the shower. Am I ready to go? I was sleeping because I foolishly was up until 4 in the morning the night before. So I saw the text at 9:36, rolled out of bed, threw some clothes on, and said, "Let's go."
No, that's not the story.
Wait, what's the story then?
The story is I sent you the text. I knocked on your door
That's
like
what it
5
was.
times to wake your ass
Okay.
up.
I forgot about that detail because I was sleeping.
Good God.
But in any case, so knocked on the door, boom, threw clothes on, we're ready to go. So we get in the car, and we live in the same apartment complex because we're, cool like that. But to get to the interstate to reach Fargo, you go north of our complex. So Kyle takes a south, and we're heading downtown. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're not going to Fargo. So we're down south, and we're about to head on to a street that'll take us to the interstate when I'm like, Kyle, I don't have my phone. So we have to go back to the apartment complex. I hop in my apartment, and I can't find my phone anywhere. And I know it was on silent, so the calling it wouldn't have been good. So I go out to the car, and I'm like, dude, I lost my phone. And then I found it in Kyle's car. So that's how the day started. Is Kyle took a wrong turn, and Josh forgot his phone in Kyle's car. So after we got that all sorted out.
So 10 o'clock rolls around and we're on the road.
Yeah. After that was all sorted out, we get some awesome food, and we decide to hit the road. So we're basically playing karaoke the whole way to Fargo. And we get to the hotel in which the convention is held. And we're looking for it, we're walking. And their pool has this freaking rock climbing wall where you can climb up and then jump off into the pool. So Kyle had to restrain me from going into this because, for obvious reasons, I probably wasn't allowed, even though I wanted to be. But we turn the corner and we see a couple booths. We see a little gaming room, which was pretty cool. And we go up to the counter to get our tickets, and the guys start laughing, and they're like, "Put away your wallets." And we're like, "What the heck?" And they're like, "Obviously you guys aren't used to being treated like YouTube celebrities yet. We're not going to charge you to enter our con."
False. False in every sense of the word. False.
Well, since that entirely didn't transcribe the way I listed it, we duly paid our tickets because we are fans of the culture and we want to support it and not use our celebrity status to our advantage in these places.
No words.
If you guys could hear Ternes' head shake right now, Just picture in your head right now.
So we're in the con now, Josh, and then what?
And then what? Well, we enter this room. We paint this room.
Not only are you a bad storyteller, you're an inaccurate storyteller.
Well, we enter a room, do we not? We pay, we get our tickets, we get a Batman stamp, we enter a room.
Okay.
I'm building suspense, okay? So we enter a room, and we paint this room for you. Now, this room is pretty small, actually. I mean, it's decent size, but it's kind of small. I don't really have anything to compare it to right now. But
wow, painting an amazing picture of this room so far.
So right now,
it's decent size but small, but we can't compare.
He's building the suspense by not telling us how big the room is.
So now that you have this picture of a room in your mind, now I've been, and Kyle and Ternes, we've been to the Wizard World Comic Cons, and obviously going to this, we weren't expecting it to be anything like that caliber. But when we arrived in this decent-sized, smallish room, we scanned the area.
No, back up.
What's
Did
up?
you just go through like 4 different size descriptors in that sense?
I kept the same. It was decent size, but smallish.
I'm pretty sure you started to say medium, and then
I did, but then I wanted to keep continuity in my story.
Okay.
So in any case, we're into the room and we scan the floor, and it's pretty much just comics. I mean, surprise, it's a comic convention, but I mean, when I go to, like the Wizard Worlds, there's like, local artists selling stuff. There's people, selling their crafts and their pop culture memorabilia. And the cool thing with conventions is you go there to buy stuff that you really can't anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, there was 3 booths that fulfilled that criteria, and the rest of this room was pretty much just like guys who have comics and comic stores selling overflow and rare issues. Which, I mean, again, it's a comic convention, but if you go to a Wizard World one, you can walk around on the floor where they're selling stuff for 2 days, and not get bored, because there's like people cosplaying and stuff, and there's a lot going on. But here, we walked around and rated the comic things, and we really ran out of things to do within about an hour and a half. There's a couple people dressed up, to say that lightly. I mean, there was like 2 people that were dressed up. They were having a costume contest.
I will say, yeah, by the time the costume contest started, there was probably about... they had about 15, 20 people that were actually dressed up,
And there was a guy who had a really sweet Lobo. I mean, that was cool to see. But then there was a guy who just wore a straight-up furry costume. Like, I'm not trying to alienate any viewers out there, so I'm not going to go any further with that statement.
To be fair, though, isn't there always a guy who just wears a straight-up furry costume?
Yeah.
I guess.
Pretty much in every costume competition ever.
And what I'll say, too, on the whole convention thing is that this was a Comic-Con in the name specifically. Comics only, like Josh just said. The only stuff, like figures and things you can get, is stuff that you can get at your local shop. So there wasn't like, a rare statue you've never seen before. There wasn't anything. It was pretty much all the stuff that you get through Diamond.
Exactly.
And it's stuff that's within the past probably about 6 months to a year old. So there was nothing special about it, but it was still a nice selection. I mean, I really liked it because there was actually quite a few for comics. There was probably I'd say probably about 10 different guys that actually had multiple tables filled with comics. So there was actually
you could definitely do a lot of
books.
digging.
There's books to look through, and everything was priced. I didn't see anybody that was like trying to get ridiculous price. Everything was a good deal. So con isn't really the right term.
Yeah,
it's more like a flea market that's comic themed.
Yeah, that was kind of how I felt. Is like, hey, you have all these comics you want to get rid of, bring them down, and people will go through them. Like I said, the booths that were unique. There was a guy who was doing he did like spray on art on shirts.
Yep. There
was these people that sewed like corsets and badly designed D20s. I apologize, ladies, but they couldn't work as dice. Their proportions were way off.
You can't live up to the standard of Josh Hobein. Anyway,
I'm sorry. And that was kind of about it. I mean, they had 2 local artists there, and boy, do we have a story about one of them. But we'll get to that. So yeah, they had a couple, like, I don't know, big names, I guess, for that area. Unfortunately, I didn't recognize them, but they had a guy doing a panel. There was 5 people in this room with a lot of empty chairs asking questions. So I don't know if that was more populated or if he just was somebody local. I'm not sure what that was about. So, I mean, they at least tried to add stuff to it, which is commendable, but I think they really... what they did with the size is they pretty much just said, bring comics down and sell them.
Yeah, and because Josh is incapable, apparently, of painting a picture with it, I'll give you the size of the room, which... you've all been to hotels before. Imagine the big ballrooms they have that usually they have a divider that they can split in half. Well, basically they split this room in half, and half of it was the convention floor, if you will, and then the other half was empty space, and then they had a little stage put up in chairs. About 50 chairs or so that they could have. That's where they paraded everybody through the costume contest, and that's where they had the speakers, too.
Yep.
Which, and it was, and you know what? For $7, I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't. Had we lived in Fargo, it would have been a good use of the weekend. You know what I mean? It was fun to go see, and props to those guys. It was a good time. I enjoyed myself. The only problem, like I said, is, and like you said too, was they really needed to have more than just comics there. Like why they didn't have Magic the Gathering? Why they didn't have cards of any kind, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, more stuff. I don't know if they couldn't get more people or things like that, but just kind of, and like we said, with Comic-Con, you kind of, all that other stuff kind of goes hand in hand, even though like
there's
the cards
always
aren't part of
something
it.
to do.
Just more to see, more to do, and they really, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they could have taken that divider down, just had one little stage, and used the whole thing as a showroom.
Yeah, I agree with that, and they should have been able to bring in some more artists and stuff like that as well. They had a room where they had like a video game setup, which was kind of cool. We checked that out pretty briefly, but that was like away from everything. So it was kind of, it would have been nice just to have everything in one room. And leading up to it, they had a couple booths. They had these guys who specialize in making stormtrooper armor. That was really cool. I just remembered that booth.
That's pretty awesome.
So that was definitely. I mean, that was the attention.
501.
Yeah, that was the attention getter.
Cool.
I think they were an actual 501.
Yep. That's awesome.
And then there was leading there when you first get to the hallway. There was these like 3 or 4 girls that had this long booth set up, and what their specialty was making posters or buttons, and they did commissioned art. So,
by the way, the only people doing commission at the con.
Yeah, the only people in the entire con doing commission.
And
so
these girls couldn't have been more than 20.
They may not have even been 18. We're not sure.
Which makes the next part a little bit messed up.
So,
but not bad, but it was a bad idea on our part in retrospect.
All right, so let's paint this picture in your mind, and this one will be better. Since you're all faithful viewers of our show, you have all seen the February 14th special, where we have sexy firefighter Ternes.
Hell yeah.
Construction worker.
Well, construction worker, firefighter, it's up in the air. In any case, they said that they were commissioned. So, the next logical thing to do is take a screenshot of sexy Firefighter Ternes pointing at you and go up to the table and say, this is a weird request, but you guys do commissions. Can you do this on a button? I need sexy Firefighter Ternes on a button. So I wasn't expecting a yes, and I didn't get a yes. I got an absolutely. So my hopes were elevated, and I was very excited, as was Kyle.
And then they said, do you want a poster? And we said, of course we want a poster. And I requested Turnus on a bed wrapped in a fire hose. And then, like we said, once again, these girls, and like you said, I don't even know if they were 18 or not. And then she goes, do you want him to have pants on?
Jesus Christ, you guys.
And I said, you know, to my credit, I said, yeah, I want him to have pants on, you know. Just shirtless with the suspenders and wrapped in the fire hose.
So they take all this information down. I give them our number just in case they have any other questions regarding this commission. And then me and Kyle are like, well, what do we do now? So we decided that we need to eat. And by God, did we eat. We went to this amazing place called Granite City. And local viewers, let me tell you, if you have not been to Granite City, you need to put this podcast on pause right now. Go there and finish listening to it at Granite City, because it is amazing. I pretty much went full on Ron Swanson. And I ordered all of the meat and all of the beer, and it was amazing. So our waitress is making small talk and trying to she's like, you know, hey, why are you guys here? And she was telling us that she was a big Zelda fan, you know, because she just got Majora's Mask and all that stuff, which is cool. So I tried telling her that we're YouTube celebrities. And Kyle just puts that to an end right there.
Yeah, she's like, wow, you guys have a show on YouTube? And I was like, yeah, like 20 people know who we are.
To my credit, I didn't try building it up. I just said that we do a YouTube show about comics and we're here for FargoCon. And then her eyes got big and said, wow, you guys are YouTube stars. And before I could say anything else, Kyle interjects with the harsh reality. But you faithful 40, I appreciate you for sticking with us. And one day we will have that status. It's not today, but one day we will. But in any case, we finish our meal and we waddle happily out to the car because they didn't have any wheelbarrows available. And we go back to the con and I go up to the booth and I'm like, how is it going? And at first I was slightly offended because she didn't remember me. She's like, oh, what was your commission?
Yeah, that was the weird part.
And I was like,
acted like she didn't know who you were.
Yeah, and I was like, come on. Who else asked for a sexy Firefighter Ternes? You know who I am. But then it clicked, and she's like, oh yeah, you're the firefighter guy. Let me check on that for you. So she's like, so who drew the fireman? And then we came to find out that, unfortunately, no one was able to capture the necessary
sex appeal
of sexy Firefighter Ternes.
It is difficult.
And they apologized, and they said it was too sexy, and I'm gonna be honest, I was pretty deflated there.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of like, I can't believe this is a reality, and unfortunately I never got to live that reality.
So do you think it was they couldn't capture it, or do you think it was you guys left and they're like, no, we're not gonna draw that, that's weird?
I think they couldn't capture it because they seemed very excited about being able to draw it.
And the girl even said, she was like, I tried, but I wasn't able to do it. Which,
I mean, is understandable. Their art style seemed kind of that manga anime, which is kind of, I mean, if you're drawing characters, you know, that you're used to, it's easy, but when you're trying to do commission and, like, a manga sexy Firefighter Ternes, it might not have turned out the way we wanted it to. But, you know, hey, props to you for trying. I thank you, at least.
They could have given us anything and we would have been happy with it.
Pretty much. But
the one thing that really, really kind of got me to was as soon as we told them what they wanted, they didn't insist on us paying right away, which kind of was a huge red flag to me, you know what I mean? Like, Because if I was taking commissions out there, you tell me what you want, then you pay me, then I do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure there's a bunch of people that will say, "Oh, draw me this," and then they never come back and get their stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least with that, then they have the money.
Exactly. So they probably weren't the most experienced, but hey, again, props to them. They were trying. They had some really cool buttons and stuff. And I was willing to give them my money, but unfortunately they couldn't deliver the Fire Fighter Ternes. But maybe next time, if any of you listeners out there can draw, and we'll do a commission of Sexy Firefighter Ternes, you let me know, and I'll send some money your way. And but that being said, we walked back in the con, dug through some more comics, and we got a pretty decent haul. There was a guy that was like wheeling and dealing, and I grabbed a graphic novel from him. We tried buying a box of TNA DVDs for $20, but he wouldn't have it. And then he went on this tirade about how he was from the San Antonio area and he watched wrestling since he was little, but he couldn't give us any wrestling stories.
Yeah.
He tried telling us about this movie. What was it called again?
I don't remember, but he didn't remember the star. He didn't remember. I think he did remember the name. I can't.
You remember the name of the movie, but that was literally it. He's like, the guy came out of prison and he didn't have a job, so he had to become an amateur wrestler and work his way up to get money. I don't know, but he was for being a big wrestling fan, I really don't know what he was trying to do, but it failed. But Kyle, why don't you tell? You probably had you had a better haul than I did.
I did. I got a bunch of Green Lantern stuff. I got Green Lantern issue 50, and you should all know what that is. That is the end of the Emerald Twilight series. That is where Hal Jordan finally kills all the Guardians except for one, and it's the premiere issue of Kyle Rayner. And I got that for, I think, $2, which that's a pretty good deal. That's at least a $10 book usually. Got a bunch of other Green Lantern books.
You got the Larfleeze Christmas special.
I got the Larfleeze Christmas special.
Yay.
Amazing. Got a Nightwing Joker book. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Other than that, and then they had some Green Arrow, Green Lantern stuff. They had a decent selection of stuff. Nothing super great.
No, a lot of it, the downside is, I'm more of a new 52, seeing as I just got into comics. And a lot of it was, older stuff, Golden Age, Silver Age. And if you're a comic collector, that's probably the most common.
I'd say more Silver and Bronze Age.
Yeah.
Not Gold.
Well, there was a couple, though. There was a couple who had Golden Age.
Yeah.
But, yeah, more Silver, Bronze, stuff like that. So it was older comics, so I didn't get, as big as a haul. But I would say probably the most impressive booth there was from the Badlands Collectibles. They kind of stood out, because some of the other booths had figures and stuff, but the way they were set up was different, and it definitely looked like they belonged, there at a con, and the guy was really cool to talk to, making deals and stuff like that, so definitely recommend checking them out.
I'll also say at one of the booths they were selling HD DVDs.
Right on.
So...
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, we could have left there with HD DVDs and TNA DVDs.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to get. And then give them to Mike and see what he says. One I can't watch and one I don't want to watch.
And that order is TNA and HD DVDs, if you were wondering.
Yeah.
But that kind of sums it up. And we checked out a couple comic shops in the area, and that was the con. And we signed a few autographs. Had to wave off some crazy fanatics, but that's just normal everyday stuff.
Explain to the police why we asked underage girls to draw erotic photos of our friend.
Again, everyday stuff. But it was a good start. It was their second year doing it. So maybe it'll get bigger.
Yeah, and their big one is ValleyCon. I assume they'll use the whole room for that one. And if they do that, and usually they actually have a star or two that actually shows up. Like someone who's actually been in something, not just Jim Bob, who was drew for Marvel for a couple of years or something like that. So.
Exactly, and plus at that one there'll probably be a C3 booth, which will instantly make it better.
Unless they give it to us for free, Josh.
What do you mean unless they give it to us for free?
Oh yeah, of course they'll give it to us for free.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, come on, what are you thinking?
Wow.
We're the ones putting ValleyCon on the map or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. My promotional skills are very assertive.
But that was great. So that was ValleyCon. Let's jump into some of the news stories. Ternes. The Joker has a haircut.
Yeah, he does. It's been known to happen from time to time.
Tell us about this. I'm intrigued. This came out of the blue. I don't know what's going on at this point.
Well,
why did the Joker get a haircut?
His hair was getting in his eyes.
I mean, that's a problem that a lot of us have to deal with. So,
but when you're a homicidal maniac who's trying to chase a giant Batman through the city, you gotta have your vision. Vision's important.
All right.
You know, he's got kind of that nice, I believe it was the nice fade away on the sides there. Just the cool little strip, sort of like a mohawk, but not really. You know.
And that's what we're talking about is Jared Leto. Who's the director of that movie? Suicide Squad.
Or something. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, whoever it is. Basically, he tweeted a picture of Jared Leto getting his haircut.
Yeah.
Which.
Jared Leto is now.
Come on, guys.
Got short hair and he is clean shaven. So.
I was gonna ask.
The Joker is gonna be played by a 15-year-old boy now, apparently.
Well, I mean, I guess there goes my follow-up question: is which barber in Gotham got the blessing of being Joker's barber? But there goes that question.
I don't know, but that came out in news, and I was like, anyone else feel that that's kind of lame?
Well, I mean, like it's great when when Snyder tweeted out that first picture of the Batmobile.
Yeah, because that was something. Cool. Yeah, that was.
And then Batman the next day, because that's something. But you know, like what do we got going on lately? We got Joker. Got a haircut and shaved his beard, and Bryan Singer is tweeting out pictures of chairs.
Yeah.
Shockers in the movie world, you guys. Chairs and haircuts left and right.
I mean, it's pretty big news. Now Jared Leto doesn't have his man bun anymore. And how are we going to react to that?
Like we are right now. This is the reaction.
And nobody cares.
I care a little bit.
Nah, man. Nah.
No, who are girls gonna post for Man Bun Monday now that Jared Leto doesn't have his man bun?
Julian Solomita.
All right. You guys, if Twitter was a stock market, that is who you need to invest in right now.
Jenna Marbles' boyfriend, Julian Solomita. He's got a man bun, and it's pretty glorious.
So, what's
what other news?
And I must say too that I'm ready to see a photo of Jared Leto as the Joker, only because I'm tired of seeing photoshopped versions of him somewhere else.
I love,
like in other movies, like it was kind of cool when they first announced it because they're like, oh, well, it could kind of look like this.
Yeah.
But it has not stopped. It is everywhere.
Oh, it won't. Like I remember back in the day when when Dark Knight was coming out, like the Heath Ledger fan manips were just everywhere. Everybody's like, oh, it's gonna, here's my version of the Joker, here's my version of the Joker. But then when they showed it the Joker, guess who got it right? Nobody had that look. Nobody had guessed that it was gonna look anything like that, even with the descriptions we had been given. Like you can't make it look as good as it's gonna look in real life, no matter what.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they did that whole different approach too. I mean, basically they gave him war paint.
Yep. Which
was a very cool look. And now the big one here is for this one is: do you think that they're going to go with the New 52 and have the whole face thing? Because if you're unaware, in the New 52, how they started it off was basically the Joker had the toy maker cut his face off, cut the skin off, and then he he sent it to someone. I think he sent it to Batman, or he left it in his cell. I'm sorry, that's what he did.
Yep.
He left it in his cell, and then he went back and he got it, and he strapped on his face. So, which looked cool, but it was the most horror-centered Joker.
Yeah.
Which has been Snyder's run. We'll jump into a little bit of spoilers too. Batman issue 39, if you haven't read it and you don't want to know, stop right here. But essentially the Joker chops off Alfred's hand.
Yep.
So, just let's get your take on that, Ternes. This is definitely the most horror-centric. And coming from Scott Snyder, he does, I, Vampire. He did, what was the series he just got done doing? The Deep or something like that.
Couldn't tell you. To be 100%.
It was a really hyped one. But it was a horror story essentially.
Okay.
It was in the horror realm, and that seems to be what he's written a lot of Swamp Thing.
Yep.
So like horror really seems to be in his backyard. How do you feel about this Joker keep it going. But Greg Capullo, who drew a lot of Spawn, and obviously horror is up his alley too. How do you feel about the horror aspect of Batman really being explored lately?
I like it, and I like that they're doing it in a way that is different from the way they tried to do it. Josh is sneaking away. Everybody,
I'm trying to sneak. Yeah, thanks for blowing my cover.
Whatever. They can't see you anyways, Josh. Like it's like a radio show.
I'm trying not to make sounds.
Just go.
I'm working
on it. Just go. Anyways, I remember back in like the 90s, they kind of some of the artists tried to bring up the more horror-centric side of Batman. They gave him the really long ears and like the kind of ghoulish appearance, and it's like, it's great, but he's still just a guy dressed as a bat, you know?
Right.
What you've done now has made his costume entirely impractical.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it looks cool for a few panels, but then it just, and oh my goodness, back in the 90s too with the cape porn, the cape was just like, just billowing and like 80 times longer than it needed to be always.
What was a very Greg Capullo thing with with Spawn.
Yeah.
He obviously hasn't brought that over with his
it works.
run on
It works
Batman,
with Spawn because Spawn's cape is like
right. That's part of the character.
Yeah, it's his thing, but like
form around him, and
they would do it with Batman too. Like some artists, and it was just like it looked just, I don't want to say awful, but just out of place. Like
it looked incredibly fantasy in a real world.
Yeah, it looked very impractical. And the cape would get really thin at some points and then get big again. It's just like, so it's nice to see them exploring the horror side of Batman in a more psychological way. Mm-hmm. And I really feel, I know I go back and forth about Joker all the time about what I feel he should be and shouldn't be and all that, but I know I said before that the Heath Ledger version of the Joker is what I always thought Joker's mindset kind of should be. But I'm starting to kind of turn back around more to this Joker now and say this is how it should be all the time, because this Joker is truly psychotic and truly sadistic.
Yes.
It's not something where it's all part of the plan for him. It's not even like a game. It's just he's just doing it just because.
Yeah.
Like he chopped off Alfred's hand because Alfred caught him in the Batcave,
Mm-hmm.
He's okay. Made some one-liner and went shh with a cleaver, and that's it, And then he moves on with life. It's not a big story moment. It's just, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Very blunt and to the point, and I like that about this Joker. This is how it definitely should be. He's very.
Yeah. Did you look at that last page?
Take
a look at the last page where essentially, in kind of a nod, I guess, to the '89 movie, he starts a parade.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And then the last panel is of him, I believe, like sitting as kind of the what's it called? Right there, as he's kind of the lead.
Right.
And look at his face, like half his face blown off from a shotgun blast.
Yep.
Just sitting there smiling, just admiring his world of chaos.
Yep. Just
with that sick grin.
That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's a pretty This is what Endgame 39.
Yeah.
This is just an amazing. Everything about this is awesome. I love the way it's drawn. I love the way Joker looks. It's everything about this. It's great. Like, this is how Batman is supposed to be. Just very in your head and psychological, and just moving left and right at all times. You never know what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. And the big thing too is that so far at Endgame we haven't been given anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no. I mean, we know Joker's messing with Batman, but there's no end game to it. I mean, which is funny because that's what it's named, but there's no, he's got no sense of a plan. No, you know, you have no idea what he is or what he's doing and the crazy thing is that they kind of set this all up in Death of the Family, which, and Scott Snyder has gone on and he said that Death of the Family is his Joker tale, where Joker cares and loves Batman, but then feels betrayed by him at the end because he chooses his family over the Joker.
Right.
And then this Endgame, which he says is his last Joker story, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's still too young to be saying stuff like that. But anyways, that's the Joker stories he has now. But anyways, moving on. Essentially, this is going to, this is the Joker not caring.
Right.
This is the Joker not loving, which is weird and makes it even scarier.
Yep.
That, apparently he did all these terrible things, and he even wrote it that way. Like, if you've read Death of the Family, it feels like he pulls punches. Like, he doesn't totally mess people up. Like, he has them all at a dinner table and stuff like that, and he sets a trap for Batman, but he doesn't mess anybody up. Like, in Endgame, he just chopped off Alfred's hand.
Yep.
He just effed him up for life. And for what?
Exactly.
Nothing.
And that was one of my kind of gripes originally with Death of the Family, was we had Death of the Family, and then immediately after that storyline was over, Damien was killed. And to me, that was kind of... I always thought that should have been something that happened in Death of the Family. Like,
yeah.
I feel like Damien's death should have been something that kind of dissolved the family. Like, I don't know. I guess, Scott Snyder obviously has it all planned out, but I think it would have been an interesting take.
To correct you, because I know it's the internet and they will, what's his name? Grant Morrison, who originally came up with the character.
Morrison, dude.
It was his idea to kill him in... Well, he wanted to kill him a long time ago, but it was his idea to kill him in Incorporated, and he even commented on that because he said, it was called Death of the Family, and he meant it to be, kind of you think it's going to happen here, but it happens over here kind of thing.
Right on. So. And that's great, but, just for me, it's one of those things where it should have been, or would have been rather interesting to see Batman choose the Joker over his family, and then that causes Damien's death, and that is why the family dissolves after that.
Well, and part of the problem I would say too is that the family essentially got back together rather quickly.
Yep.
They had a while where, and kind of Damien's death actually kind of brings them back together a little bit. Which, obviously it's not just Scott Snyder. It's what's their names? DC Publishing. They have a whole story arc and stuff they want to do and things like that. So I know it's not just his decision, but it was just kind of weird how the whole thing is about the death of the family, and you metaphorically kill the family by splitting everybody up, but it really only sticks for about 2-3 months.
Yeah, like great. That was there wasn't a whole lot there. But I actually read an interview with Snyder recently about this issue of Batman, number 39, where Alfred's hand gets chopped off and all that. He said he's really excited to kind of finish up this run because he's going to be taking Gotham into a place that readers are going to be blown away by it, essentially. They're not going to believe what's happening. He didn't give away any details, obviously, because he's very tight-lipped about that. But he did say that there's going to be a preview given out on Free Comic Book Day that's going to just blow people's minds, and I'm super stoked to see that. Where's Batman's universe headed after Endgame?
Because he's delivered on everything he's ever promised.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You can't look at Snyder's work and say, it's not, it's not good. Well, I know a certain person who wasn't, who thought the story was great, but didn't like the writing style.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that'll happen. I mean, some guys just don't write in a way that you like.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everyone has kind of come to the consensus that everything he's added to the mythos has been great.
Mm-hmm. And I think, to maybe go off on a side tangent here, I think another reason for that is because everything he's added to the mythos has served a purpose.
Yeah.
He doesn't throw stuff on there because like, oh, this would be cool if this happened, or like whatever, let's throw this in there. This is a neat idea. Like it's like he would think of something, and then find a way to work it in, or think of something, and then I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like everything serves a purpose. There's a reason for everything.
Yep.
And that's the way to do it. That's how you build a character. That's how you build a character's universe, and you build them up to the audience.
Yeah. So, keeping with that, back on comics, we are very, very close to, and Marvel's just starting up their Secret Wars, which will reboot their universe. But I believe this is the final month of DC, of the New 52. Everything's ending at issue 40, or earlier if it wasn't around since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But after this, it's Convergence, and we're done with the Marvel universe, or the DC... universe as we know it.
Is that going to be everything? Because, Deathstroke just rebooted. They're only, 3 issues in. Same with Gotham by Midnight. I mean, technically, those are new 52s. So are those going to be done?
I don't have the whole list in my head, but there are, I know there's a lot of Green Lantern titles that are done, like Red Lanterns, which is a shame, because I've proclaimed my love for the new... Guy Gardner, the way they took his character, really great. If you get a chance to read Red Lanterns, I think it starts around the mid to late 20s and on. It's definitely worth reading. But they're getting rid of some of those titles. They're taking some stuff back, during Convergence Month. I know it's going to be Nightwing and Oracle, so that's obviously a huge.
Wonder what they're
step
gonna
back
do with,
from where they were.
Yeah.
Wonder what they're going to do with Harley Quinn, since she's been, the breakout star of the New 52, I would say.
Well, if you've been reading Harley's book, she kind of operates in her own universe.
Yeah, that's what
So I don't think she will be changed very much. Because every time, Poison Ivy showed up, but it was kind of more of a animated show version of Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
And same thing with Power Girl. It wasn't typical Power Girl. It was more hers, so I think she'll stay the way that she is. But yeah, it's just, and I think like we said before, but the Superman title, Lois Lane's pregnant with his baby.
Yep.
They're married and he's pregnant, which would be kind of weird because they had a very firm stance when they started the New 52. No marriages.
Right.
Relationships, but no marriages. And I would guess, Josh, as a new comic reader, how do you feel about that? That they're just... Everything they've been telling you for the past 5 years, they're kind of throwing out the window again.
I'm alright with it, because it gives me, some new... Because Batman's something I want to get into, but they were already, issue, and there's so many runs of Batman for the New 52. So now that it's rebooting, it's something I can get excited about. Because I came into it in the middle of the New 52. Being Deathstroke that was the character that I wanted to. That was my favorite DC character, and his run he was already done with this first run.
Right.
So I came in the middle of the New 52. So this new reboot, this is gonna be the first reboot since I've really started getting into comics, unless you count Marvel Now, but I really don't count that as a reboot.
It was a soft reboot, if you will.
Yeah.
It was a very soft reboot.
And I tried getting into a couple of those titles, but unfortunately none of them lasted. But no, I'm excited for it. I'm all for it. And I think, every 5 years, if you purge it, because if you get into comics, where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they stack releases of the New 52, where it's all right, this character won't be coming out for 2 years, I mean, you're still 2 years into the universe. And, I mean, then, if you're a longtime comic fan, I think it works either way, because then when you get into arguments with your friends, you can be like, lay down rules of like, alright, what era of this superhero are we arguing about? And it just gives you more things to collect, because how do you collect full series if it goes on and on and on, versus if you want to collect the whole series in the New 52, well, bam, $40, versus a 10-year run of something. So I'm all for reboots.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I take issue with like reboots and constant events and crises and all that. Like,
you got to keep it fresh, though. I mean, you can't.
do, but I mean, like, it just seems to me that really should be more like a once in a great while kind of thing.
Kind of that once every 20 years thing.
Exactly.
I think was pretty good.
Infinite Crisis, Identity Crisis, and all that. Like,
but then how do you jump on?
Like what they've suggested is, I know one guy said you just do every year you start a new arc.
Yeah.
Like, and like, it's like you have a Batman #1 every year.
Yep.
So somebody who jumps on can be like, all right, this is #1. And if you look at Marvel now, that's kind of what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Is like Wolverine had a bunch of #1s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. You can still keep it fresh, but the other side of it too is with it rebooting, we're probably going to see a lot more New 52 graphic novels, which are easier to get caught up on, especially if you can't find certain issues, or you don't want to have singles laying everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to get what are they called? Crucibles or oracles, whatever. Like
Omnibus?
There you go. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Crucible of comics.
Omnibuses of a full series.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about over here. I'm also tired. But I look forward to that, just as a reader more than a collector.
What bothers me so much about the reboots and the constant, when I say constant, I know it's not, but like the events and crises is the treatment of the characters. Like, they feel like, I mean, there's obviously, when you do a reboot, you have to, take care of certain things, you have to reset certain things. But somebody like Oracle, for instance, I mean, how much do you need to read about her to get her entire backstory?
Yeah.
She was Barbara Gordon, she's Batgirl, she got shot, she's Oracle.
Well, see, alright, that's fair enough. I mean, with the reboots, then you have to get into the origins and stuff, and, I mean, I can understand that. A new story arc would be better, because it's like, alright, Batman is now doing this plot. We don't need the whole, how did Batman, we've all been there,
right,
we know
his story. So my problem is, they do a reboot or they do a crisis or whatever, and they eliminate characters, like they did before with New 52, like Cassandra Cain, Spoiler, Stephanie Brown, and then Oracle, like, was gone, and it's just kind of like, you have all this established history built up between these characters, like between Oracle and Nightwing, and now we've gotten rid of Oracle, but Nightwing is still around.
Yeah.
But what's happening? Why?
That's kind of that soft reboot thing that doesn't really work that well for me. And I'm kind of the same way. If you're going back to square one, let's go back to square one.
Yes.
But that soft reboot stuff, like, well, she can walk now.
Yeah. Well, and
she's Batgirl again.
And and then that, to a point, that's fine. But what gets me about it even more, on top of that, is like, okay, cool. So, comics fans, let's face it, are notorious for bitching about stuff and wanting their old ways back and wanting things to change. I'm that way. A lot of people are that way. It's just how it is. Nature of the business. So they do a reboot, a few years back, New 52. Oracle's gone. Barbara Gordon can walk again. That's great. Everybody was complaining for a long time that why did they get rid of her? Like, she was a great role model for people that had physical disabilities, and this and that. Great role model for girls, all this, whatever. It's great. I feel like we're finally kind of settling down and finally getting into the swing of things now. Getting like, okay, so this is who we are. We accept it. This is who it's going to be. This is this character now. We can't go back. Reboot. Everything's reset again. Guess what, you guys? It's everything we just got you used to. Nope, all out the window.
Yep.
Why? Like, no. Keep certain things established. Keep certain things in that spot. I mean, like, I obviously don't know what all the convergence is going to entail, but it's like, it stresses me out.
Well, and the big thing too was they used to use it, like they used the first couple of reboots to fix continuity issues.
Yeah.
Not to just change things, but really to fix issues.
Right.
So that we could say, okay, you know, we've been writing books for this long, we've noticed we've had these discrepancies here, and we kind of want it to be this, but it's this, so we're just going to make tweaks to it, and we can actually fix it. So now everything makes sense.
Yep. It would just
and we've come to a point where everything makes sense, it's just they want to change it.
Right. It's frustrating.
Yes.
Superboy Prime punches time.
Superboy Prime punches time.
For the fourth time.
For the fourth.
In the last 12 years. Like, okay, please, somebody stop that guy from doing that. It's getting annoying.
I can try.
Bovine.
See, it's if the same thing keeps happening, I don't understand why people won't stop it. I mean, going off topic a little bit, Ronda Rousey's last fight, 13 seconds. Okay, what is she known for? Like, less than a minute submissions.
Yep.
So, of course, you watch tapes of her fight. So, your opponent, what do? You run right into her arms. You jump up and try to take her to the ground. And 13 seconds later, the fight is over. Come on.
That was tough. You could tell she even felt bad about that one.
Well, I'm not taking anything away from Ronda Rousey. Like, I probably couldn't beat her up, but, like, stand and fight her.
Josh. You probably couldn't beat her up.
Dude,
okay.
She's bona fide badass.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Like, I probably couldn't last 13 seconds in the ring with her.
Yeah.
But in any case, I mean, it's like, dude, the same things. You watch it and you avoid it. I mean, I would avoid it by running away for as long as I could before she inevitably caught up with me, and then I would just give up right then and there. But
to be fair, though, it is called ultimate fighting, not ultimate avoiding.
So, I would try. I mean, what could I do? There's nothing potentially.
Nothing. She's Ronda Rousey. You can't do it. Like, she gets you. That's
she was in Expendables 3.
That's it. It's over. Game over.
I mean, there's really not much I could do.
Lose your grip on the cage as you scream as she German suplexes you.
And then but here's the thing: I wouldn't be fighting her right away. I'd have to be like a build-up, like unless I won some sort of Make-A-Wish Foundation or something.
But you just use your influence as an internet superstar.
We could make this happen, you know.
Yeah, apparently we're getting into cons for free. Why aren't we?
Yeah.
Why aren't we getting into?
The next logical jump is free entry into any UFC fight we want.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna need some C3 trunks, so I need our designers to get on that. Because if I'm gonna do this,
our designers. Do you hear that, guys? You are officially our designers now.
Because if I'm doing this for C3, I mean, our name's got to be out there.
I kind of feel like you're doing it to meet Ronda Rousey, though. Like, if I was gonna say,
Dude, if I wanted to meet her, I would do it outside the octagon. But no, I'm putting my body, nay, life on the line. I mean,
but I still kind of feel like you're doing it just to meet her. I mean, not passing judgment. That's why I would do it.
But I mean, why would I be Why would I be asking for C3 trunks if I weren't doing it for us?
You're trying to make it sound a lot more heroic.
Yeah, it's really I think you're just looking for excuses to do it, and like, I mean, I'll do it for you guys.
I don't really need an excuse to do things. I'll bite. This is a good excuse for me to get in the ring with Ronda Rousey.
There it is, right there. You just heard him say it.
So
it's a good excuse.
Well, there's another controversy. Interestingly enough, is there was a male fighter who turned female. Maybe he wanted to fight Ronda Rousey, and that was the only way to do it. So I don't really if I have to do that for C3, I'm sorry.
He didn't make an excuse. Like,
well, he might have. Do you listen to his podcasts?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say that for C3, I will take on Gina Carano.
Alright, Ternes, what will you do for C3?
I'm not doing anything for C3. I'm doing it for the people.
Okay, who are you taking on for the people?
Who would I fight?
We already covered that. We went to the convention for the people.
Who would I fight for C3?
Yeah.
Because apparently it's not who do we fight, it's who do we have a fantasy of getting beat up by.
Well, I'm sorry, Ron Rousey, that's not my option then. If it's a fantasy who I'm getting beat up by, I mean, it's not going to be somebody who's like career as a fighter. Dude, I hate boys. That was our other attempt that we didn't do.
We're
the guy spray painting.
We're diving into dangerous inside joke territory. Nobody's gonna know what we're talking about.
The guy that was doing the airbrushing on the t-shirts. We almost. I mean, Kyle mentioned that we should try to make him have an I Hate Boys shirt, but unfortunately, we didn't get that
do you
far.
have? Doesn't matter.
Do you have the size half?
But I mean, going back to it, I mean, it was who, like, I wouldn't pick somebody who is a professional fighter if I had to fight somebody for C3 or get beat up. I don't know. What are we talking about?
What are you talking about?
What tangent have you got me lost on? Can we have a soft reboot, please?
No, we're keeping this going.
All right.
So the question is, if you have a fantasy of getting beat up by somebody
for C3,
who would it be? And Josh's immediate answer was, well, not a fighter, but like, if the fantasy is about getting beaten up,
that's
I feel
true.
like a fighter is going to be your number one option because
that's true, because
you're fantasizing about getting beaten up.
You have to actually physically get hurt. So if they're not a fighter, they're going to have to resort to like weapons and uncool tactics. You know, like there's the crotch kick. I don't want that to happen.
Yes, man.
But all right,
Jon Stewarted.
Our fictional characters on the menu here.
Of course,
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, all right. If you're gonna say that, I'm gonna steal Paige then, because if anything, she's a professional fighter.
Go for it. That's fine. I'd get beat up by Buffy all day. Because dude, Paige. I could be in a handicap match against Paige and AJ at the same time. And like Emma's in my corner.
You could be. Oh gosh, you let that happen?
Of course not. I'd have to have somebody.
What
on my
would that
side.
handicap be? Josh can't stand up this match. Give it a minute, guys. Give it a minute.
In related terms, the great Khali has started a wrestling school. I don't know if you guys know about this.
Yeah, I read about that.
My resume's in the mail. Number 1 on the list.
If anybody knows how to wrestle, it's the great Khali. Yeah. Josh, you give me the super salt specialist. Okay, so for those that don't know, we were talking about making a video at one point. A trailer for our channel in which Josh was going to do a somersault. Originally, which was labeled as a front flip. But we decided to tone it down to somersault. When we realized none of us were that comfortable with jumping in the first place. So we were in the comic shop. And we just said, hey, let's try to do that somersault shot. We got down to the ground. I don't even know how to explain it. Like when you do a somersault.
First of all, when Josh flips, Josh does not flip forward. Josh flips at a 45-degree angle.
I hadn't done a somersault since elementary school. I didn't have a running start. I wasn't mentally prepared.
You don't need a running start
this.
to do a somersault. When you do a somersault, you should get down and then roll.
You sound like an expert on somersaults. It sounds like you need to do a somersault.
I'll do it right the fuck now if you want to do.
But I mean, I wasn't mentally prepared. I messed this somersault up so bad.
Josh got down, did a belly slide, and then tried to flip over afterwards. Hit a shelf. Everything that was on the top of the shelf fell back behind the counter. It was a catastrophe. It was amazing.
And there are me and Ternes holding his leg.
And Mike is watching in the background, just watching his shop be torn apart by these guys he invited in to do a show a couple months prior.
Oh, jeez. But in my defense, nowhere in that trailer would my somersault have come in.
It wouldn't have.
Even if I had nailed it perfectly, there wasn't even a bit.
But it was.
So it was like a whole conspiracy to get Josh to do a somersault.
It was pretty great to watch.
But I'm willing to do another one, just given different circumstances, namely outside, away from breakable things, and a little more prep time, maybe. But I feel like we need to do a web redemption. I mean,
I don't know
if we make Tosh mad, he's got to say our name. Therefore, people will know about it. No press is bad press, Ternes. This is Joshonomics lesson 1. No press is bad press.
That's not even Joshonomics. That's like basic, like. I don't even know what the word. Like that's publicity 101. No
All
press is bad press.
I do.
Joshonomics 101. Steal your bullet points from other things.
Open wrestling school with
Basic
the Great Khali.
Joshonomics.
The Great Khali taught me how to lose a dance contest in Fandango. That was what I took from that wrestling school.
Good Lord.
But like I said, I think I deserve a web redemption for my somersault ability. Because if there's one way to get me to do things, it's tell me I can't do them. And Joshonomic number 2 is always do what people tell you can't do.
Oh, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore at this point. Like, we've just gone off on a tangent. We were talking about reboots at one point, and then just Superboy Prime punching time equals Ronda Rousey equals Josh doing it for C3 equals where we're held
Web redemption.
I don't know.
Stay tuned for Josh's somersault take number 2. It will happen, and I will accomplish this.
Just ridiculous.
If there's one thing the Great Khali will teach me, Khali, I can't even say his name. He's going to teach me how to somersault, because if any man knows how to somersault, it's a 7 foot.
It's really shocking Josh isn't more successful in life.
Someday.
I'm successful enough.
Alright, well, we hit the minute or the hour marker.
Let me leave you with Joshonomics bullet number 3.
Alright, Josh, you have the last one. Give us number 3.
I haven't come up with it yet. Always improvise on the fly.
Man. Joshonomics number 3. Always wait till the last minute to come up with your bullet point.
I haven't come up with it yet.
Good Lord.
That is going to be our first t-shirt. Joshonomics rule number 3. I haven't come up with it.
See-through designers, you're on it. It's your job. Get a sweatshirt.
Alright, well.
Okay.
Alright.
That's all we got for this week. So, again, tune in next week. Josh's somersault's a maybe. Have a good night.
Good night.
Mmm, tasty.